Okay, folks, I realize it hasn't been 4 months, but we'll go ahead and do another one. Today, we're going to talk about cutty, choppy things. And no, that's not the technical term, but it's the best I can come up with. Uh, we're going to cover everything from knives to saws. Now, first thing I want to say is survival knives. The older I get, the more I hate them. And when I say survival knife, I'm talking about one of these things that usually has a compass on top, if the cheap POS plastic thing hasn't been broken, and all sorts of cool stuff in the body. The problem with these knives is a knife is a tool to cut and chop and save your life with. If you have a plastic handle and a blade that only goes this far, you ain't got much of a tool. Now, the only reason I've still got this one is because it has a couple little things in the scabbard that I like, and the knife just happens to hold the stuff in the scabbard. Other than that, I can't say anything good about survival knives. Now, there are two exceptions to this rule that I have not checked out, and they are the Rothco Ramster. It has some type of grappling hook in the handle, and I'm going to adjust the microphone for a second because I got to get to Notepad to tell you the name of the other one. And the United Cutlery Bushmaster. It looks almost well put together, but I haven't seen it and played with it enough to tell you one way or the other. Now, knives are going to fall into two categories, and they are strictly cutting and tools. For instance, a couple of knives that would be considered strictly cutting are going to be my Cold Steel Kobun. Okay, it's a Tanto knockoff. Okay, Cold Steel usually puts out really expensive knives. This is one of their budget knives. I think you can get this for about 24 to 30 bucks. It has a very fine edge, full tang. You know, Cold Steel just puts out good blades. I've never found anything of theirs that I didn't like. Another strictly cutting knife that I actually wouldn't take into the field is one of these little ceramic things I just keep at my desk to cut apples with. Now, a knife that's more of a tool than a knife, I believe this is another Cold Steel product. This is called a Panga. It's their machete, and I got it because I like the curvature of the blade here. It has a lot of weight on the end, so you can really cut through brush with it. And then I have this other machete that I have no idea where I got it. I've had it for years, but it's based off a design of a Chinese war sword. But, you know, in my book, it's a machete. And, you know, it's once again, it's got the heavy handle, the heavy blade. I took the original wrapping off because it was this cheap leather strapping and replaced it with 550 paracord. So, you know, those are two decent machetes. Of course, you got your standard hatchet. This is a Winchester. I only have it because it came with one of these other devices I'm going to show you. Now, we're going to talk about another thing for cutting, hand saws. And we're not talking about folding saws, even though we could easily go into that category. Once again, everybody's seen those wire saws you get in a survival knife. I have yet to find one of those that I like. Luckily, I'm going into my gadget box here, and sooner or later we will go through everything that is in the gadget box. Give y'all something to look forward to. The alternative we have in recent years to the wire saws are handheld chainsaws. This one is actually the one I prefer. I've used this several times. It is a Winchester chainsaw. You notice how all the teeth are the same size and uniform. Basically, you wrap this around a small bow or small tree, and I can cut through a tree this big in less than a minute. Easy. The other one I have is put out by the Ultimate Survival Technologies, and it's called a Saber Cut Saw. Now you'll notice it has these huge teeth that if you can get it going, it will actually cut faster than the Winchester. The problem is these huge teeth tend to bind a little bit more. It's also much wider than the Winchester. Now, on the plus side, it looks like it's a little bit sturdier than the Winchester, but I've never had a problem with the Winchester. You can get the Saber Cut Saw. Excuse me, I got allergies acting up today. It runs about 15 bucks. They actually had a sale recently where you could get a whole bunch of Ultimate Survival Technology stuff in a package for 20, and this was included, and that was a real good deal. But the Winchester came with the hatchet for $17, and I believe we got that at Bass Pro Shop. Now, as far as tools go, my two favorite, and once again I got to move the microphone, I apologize, but I accidentally buried this. I have multi-tools. Everybody's seen them, most everybody has them. I've had 20, not to exaggerate, over the past few years. And the two favorites I still have. This is a Winchester. I picked it up at Walmart for $10 on sale. It has several nice blades in it. It does not have locking blades, so you could lose a finger. Now you notice every one of these multi-tools has this saw blade on it. And I've never had any luck with these saw blades until I bought the Gerber suspension, which is the one I carry now. I have two of them. I've given them as Christmas gifts. They have multi-tools that cost $50, $60, $70. This one costs $23 to $30. And as much as I love gadgets, I've never seen it need to upgrade. Everything on this thing works, including the saw. I have cut through boards with this saw. It also has locking blades, which is a plus in my book. And it has a working pair of scissors on it. Okay? And a lot of these things come out with scissors that don't work. This one does. You can get the Gerber suspension and the Winchester with the bit set. Now the last thing we're going to cover is, I've already shown you the one axe that I don't carry. Believe it or not, another product from Cold Steel is this. It's called a bad axe, and it's called a throwing axe. While it is totally balanced for throwing, it is one of the best crowbars in the world. I have jammed this thing into floorboards and pried them up. I have used it to pull parts out of cars. I've had this piece of weaponry now for 10 years, and I'm planning on buying another one. It's about 23 bucks. Like I said, it's balanced for throwing. I've cut wood with it. It's just a piece of steel with a piece of wood on it. And Cold Steel does not put out crap. Last thing, if you want something smaller, I think this is put out by Bud K. They have two versions. You can get 5 for $10, which are cheap pieces of fecal matter, or you can get one of the good ones for $10. It is balanced for throwing. It is double-edged. Some of them have, I think this one right here, has a saw edge on one side. As far as just a cheap stick-in-the-pack knife for an emergency, can't beat it. Sharpened piece of steel, balanced for throwing. Not that I've ever thrown it, in a survival situation. Throw away your knife, you're stupid. So, there's some knives you can look at for good, cheap survival knives. Like I said, don't invest in one of these survival knives that have packed crap in the handle. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, and I don't have it to show you, it's also put out by Cold Steel, and it's called the Cold Steel Bushman. It is basically a single pressed piece of steel that has a hollow handle. But the hollow handle is all one piece of steel. It's like a blade that has the handle built out, where you can shove it onto a stick, make it into a spear. As far as I'm concerned, the Bushman is the best survival knife out there. I actually loaned mine out. My bad, I'm going to buy another one because I just like having it around. It also has a pocket on the side for you to put stuff in, and I have a full fishing kit in this thing. So, as far as the survival knife, go with the Cold Steel Bushman. Now, the one I'm looking at that is not survival on the cheap by any mean, shape, form, or fashion is the new Ka-Bar. I believe it's called the Becker Tack Tool, and it runs about $70. It has some features I'm looking for in a good knife. It has a wider back where you can take the knife and hammer onto the back of it without damaging the blade. It has a square blade for prying. It just looks like a really nice knife. I just haven't purchased it yet. So take a look at that, the Becker Tack Tool or the Cold Steel Bushman. As far as a handsaw, you can go with the Ultimate Survival Technologies Saber Cut Saw or the Winchester just handheld chainsaw. Wire saws, never had luck with them. So there's my 2 cents worth. That's survival on the cheap. I'll probably do my next little segment on water. So until then, stay safe.